I'm assuming you're aware that they tried Medicare-for-All in the state of Vermont.
I am.
And they said it didn't work out. And I was wondering if you knew why it didn't work out, and if so, why do you think it would work on a national level if it didn't work on a state level?
Sure. The reason it didn't work in Vermont is because Vermont has a population of 650,000 people, roughly. And some huge number of them, and I lived in Vermont when they tried this experiment. And I'm sorry, I don't recall the number of people who are on Medicare in Vermont, Medicare and Medicaid, but my recollection is it was well over 100,000. So there's a lot of retirees and a lot of people who are on Medicaid, low-income people. It might have been over 200,000. And those federal dollars come into Vermont, through the federal government, even though they're administered by, at least the Medicaid is administered by the state of Vermont. The Medicare is independent of the state of Vermont. That's just between Vermont people and the federal government. So when they went with Medicare-for-All, the way the law is constructed right now around Medicare and Medicaid, it would have cut off all of that money from Medicare and Medicaid that was going to Vermont. So Vermont itself would have to raise their taxes radically to pay for the people who otherwise were getting federal funds for Medicare and Medicaid. And it would have just broken the state. So what they did is they applied to the government, to the federal government, and this was during the Bush administration. They applied to the federal government for a waiver. They said, can we have a waiver, and you can continue to pay our Medicare people, and you can continue to pay our Medicaid people, or pay us, and we'll pass the money out to Medicaid, and we'll just roll it into our single-payer system. And the Bush administration said, no, we won't do that. You're going to have to force Congress. You're going to have Congress do that. And so every year since then, Democrats have introduced legislation in Congress to make these waivers available to states, so that any state that wants to do a single-payer system can do it very easily by, because they won't have to worry about also suddenly having to use state tax dollars to pay for Medicare and Medicaid recipients who were before getting federal tax dollars. But so far, it has not passed. The Republicans are absolutely opposed to it. And there are some Democrats who are opposed to it, too, because a Medicare-for-all system in the state puts the insurance companies out of business. So that's what happened, Byron.
This problem wouldn't exist if it was on the federal level, the Medicare-for-all.
That's correct. And it would not exist on the state level if the federal government could continue to pay, cover the cost of Medicare and Medicaid, of people who are on Medicare and Medicaid.
I wanted to, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted to ask you, what's your opinion of the Meta Advantage plans versus the original Medicare plans? It's something I'm eligible to sign up for, and I'm not sure which way to do it.
Medicare Advantage plans are scams. There's a couple. The only one that I know of that is even reasonable is the one that's run by Kaiser Permanente, because they're a nonprofit, and they've got a really large system. But beyond that, the Medicare Advantage plans are scams. When you get sick, they start. In fact, United Healthcare just dumped hundreds of thousands of people off their plans because they weren't profitable. So in the beginning, it looks great. Hey, the cost is low, and I get all these benefits. But once you start getting sick, which happens as you age, it's going to happen to all of us. Suddenly they stop paying for things, they start refusing to pay for things, and ultimately they'll kick you off the plan, and then you're really screwed. So stay away from Medicare Advantage is my recommendation. Byron, thanks for the call. Hey, Thom Hartmann here. KBCS is hosting me out at Town Hall Seattle with special guest Katie Wilson on Saturday, December 6th. I'll be discussing my new book, The Last American President, speaking to the day's most pressing issues, and have a Q&A and book signing. You can get tickets now at kbcs.fm. See you there. Tag You're It.